Okay, thank you everyone. And with that, we conclude this part of today's program. Moving straight now to our next session, which is the plenary session on social security, the missing link in inclusive growth. And once again, we have with us to moderate the session Mr. T.K. Arun, who's a senior journalist. And as our panelists, we have Dr. Sudha Chandrasekhar, Executive Director, National Health Authority. Let's give her a big hand and welcome her. Mr. Anujeet Varadkar, CEO at Svatantra Microfin Private Limited. Mr. Ranjan Ghosh, President of the Unity Small Finance Bank. Ms. Priyanka Gupta, DGM Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. And Mr. Sahil Khanna, GM Asia and Latin America, Sun King. We, of course, have a lead presentation by Prime M2I Consulting Private Limited. Requesting all of our panelists to please join us on stage. I'll request everyone to please give them a big hand and welcome them this evening as they join us to share with us their expertise on the missing link in inclusive growth, that is social security. And before I hand it over to the session moderator, Mr. Deepak Alok from Prime M2I Consulting Private Limited will be making a presentation here. Let's welcome him.
So this session is about the missing link in overall financial inclusion, which is social security. So all of us know, and it has been widely acknowledged, that microfinance, has made significant contribution towards making credit accessible to a large section of the population. Over 10 crore households would possibly have been reached, and many of them, I would say most of them, would have got a credit score only because of microfinance, their association with a microfinance institution. Same is the situation with savings also. A large proportion of population has got access to saving services either through SHGs or through PC partnerships or directly through small finance banks or commercial banks. But same is not the situation with other services like health insurance, pensions. So let's look at some of the data points. I have some of the data points. So the NSSO survey says that over 60 to 70% of total OPD expenses are covered in private sector hospitals and not government hospitals. And coverage of health insurance is less than 20%. That means that huge population is vulnerable. So there is lots of gap out there. Similarly, in pension sectors, within the pension sector also, we have more than 80% of our workers in the unorganized sector, and most of them are not covered under any insurance. And if we look at the coverage of the Atal Pension Yojana, only 4 crore enrollments are there, which accounts for less than 10% of the total unorganized sector population. So clearly there is huge gap, and possibly the panelists could deliberate upon whether microfinance institutions can fulfill this gap, and if yes, then what could be the possible modalities, and are there some examples already available which some of the MFIs present here, they could emulate. So possibly these are some of the questions which the panelists could deliberate upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this mic working? Yeah. As Deepak outlined the problem just now, social security is a very, very large, complex, and multi-layered issue in a country like India. So there is old age security, there is health coverage, healthcare, and disability, as well as, ideally speaking, housing should also be part of old age security. If people cannot find shelter as they age and if they're on the streets, I don't know how secure they are socially. So this is a multi-dimensional problem for which I'm sure private financing by itself cannot find a solution. Now, healthcare and education at the primary level, at the school level, should ideally be funded by the government, if not fully executed by the government. And this is the lesson from experience around the world. Now, in India, we have a peculiar system of industries coming up to make up for the deficit in the way things are supposed to function. You have an electric inverter industry. You have an air purifier industry because we cannot maintain quality of the air. And, generators, all these kind of things, which are basically a reflection of things being dysfunctional. Suppose we could remove this dysfunction, then you will find many things disappear. Why do you have a home water purifier industry? Only because you are unable to provide clean drinking water at home. So, now even if things were functioning properly, there would still be a big role for institutions like a microfinance organization. Because their prime quality, which makes them exemplars of reaching out to the small guy, is a presence on the ground, distributed, spread across the country, in a way that the government cannot directly match through its officers. If that can be leveraged to deliver government-provided services, to create awareness of how to utilize these services, and actually ensure that people have a better quality of life, that would be great. But right now, we have with us to discuss all this some very key people. We have Sudha Chandrasekhar from the National Health Authority. We have Ms. Priyanka Gupta from the PFRDA, the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. And we have two people from the industry, microfinance industry. We have Ranjan Ghosh from the Unity Small Finance Bank, and Mr. Anujeet Varadkar from a key microfinance company that actually has pioneered provision of health insurance schemes for small scale guys. Now, I would think that the primary role of the microfinance institutions would be in awareness and distribution. For example, pensions. Pensions depend crucially on the ability to manage assets, to accumulate a corpus of savings, and then to manage them spread across great many sectors to minimize risk and maximize returns. Clearly, this is not something that microfinance can do on its own. But as channels through which to collect and accumulate this corpus, they can certainly play a role which others cannot. So giving access to PFRDA, but I think PFRDA has a problem for there being distribution agents for pension products. There is no commission, there is no revenue that can be, if I'm not mistaken, for distribution. I'd like to, for this thing to kick off with our pension fund regulator representative, Priyanka.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Sa-Dhan for picking up this topic. You know, this topic is so relevant in today's scenario that where nearly in our Indian working population, nearly 85% of the people are working into the unorganized sector. And these unorganized sector workers actually are barred, or I should say that they are not included into this financial services that are being offered by the government or many line ministries of the government. So, Mr. Arun, you very well said that Atal Pension Yojana, though like PFRDA is managing it, but the coverage of the pension, if I talk about it, is just nearly 10% of the eligible population that we have. With respect to the distribution channels, incentives, as you said, sir, so I would like just to clarify it over here that government is incentivizing all the Atal Pension Yojana service providers by giving them enrollment incentive as well as for the persistency. That means each account that remains persistent in the entire year, the APYSPs also get a persistency incentive on that. It is just to leverage those channels and that they remain interested in doing this social security and they contribute to the social cause. This is there. Secondly, sir, you also very well said that the pension regulators' main role is that the funds that are being accumulated from the source, from the people, it is invested in the market in such a way that it generates maximum returns and it minimizes the risk. But what is the beauty of this scheme is that whether the return is at the age of 60 when the subscriber is eligible for pension, whether the return is sufficient enough to buy that annuity or not, the government is guaranteeing it that whatever the corpus is, because there are like 5 pension slabs in this scheme, and maximum pension slab is of 5,000 rupees. So even if the corpus is not sufficient enough to buy annuity for 5,000 rupees, the government will be compensating that amount. So this is the guarantee that is being provided by the government of India. Now, if I talk about, like, should I go about that what PFRDA is doing for the inclusive growth of the people, or you want to take it in the later session?
How can you involve and enroll the microfinance institutions in spreading your
Right.
service?
So what I'll do, I'll first tell you that what are our distribution channels, right? So our distribution channels are basically the banks, which includes small finance banks also, right? So all the banks who are a scheduled commercial banks or small finance banks or the private sector banks, each and every bank, they can enroll under PFRDA, they can get registration from PFRDA to distribute this Atal Pension Yojana scheme. Secondly, what we are doing is that, because banks do play a major role, but besides that, we are contacting all the other ministries also, where they are actually serving the beneficiaries, the unorganized sector people. Maybe it is the agricultural ministry, maybe it is the labor ministry, and we are contacting them and we are trying them that to you educate while you are passing on the benefits of your schemes to these people, you also educate them about the importance of pension and how Atal Pension Yojana can secure their old age. That is what we are doing.
Sure. Now, let me turn to Anujeet to give his experience in helping his customers to whom his microfinance institution lends money secure health insurance and also treatment with that insurance.
Sure.
Okay.
Am I audible? Yeah. You want to repeat that question?
Yeah, I will just repeat what I said. Now, Anujeet's microfinance institution has been selling and helping customers operate their health insurance schemes. Now, one question that comes up is why at all do the poor population of this country need to buy private health insurance when there is a government-run scheme, Ayushman Bharat, which seeks to, with the help of state governments, provide health insurance to all the uninsured people. Now, if you give your experience of operationalizing your scheme, it will probably help us to understand what the gaps are in the Ayushman Bharat scheme and how that can be filled.
Thank you so much. So if you look at the microfinance industry for the last 1 decade, we have served close to 7 crore borrowers, which means we have introduced the concept of insurance to about 7 crore borrowers for the first time. For the last 5 years, microfinance institutions have not only remained constrained to offering a credit life insurance, which was mandatory, but have also moved to health, home insurance and personal accident. And when I say health, all aspects of health, all variants of health, cashless hospitalization, there is this wage protection plan, there is telemedicine, which has really picked up. So we have started offering cashless hospitalization for the last 5.5 years. We have already settled claims worth 70 crore rupees. And the only difference, I would say, between a private entity sort of offering this scheme in partnership with an insurance company versus a government is that the private entity like us really owns the fulfillment piece, right? So India, as we say, is an assisted community wherein they need someone to assist them. They may not be, as thorough when it comes to, knowing which hospital to get into, what ailment requires, which specialization. So we have a team of about 20 people who specialize in this. The insurance partner that we operate with also has a team of about 10 people dedicated to us. And that is how we operate. And we were just chatting informally before this session. The attachment of this particular scheme when we started was about 15%. Now it has reached about 60-65%. The customers the balance 35% who say that they do not want to opt for it because it's a voluntary scheme, have never quoted saying that they have an insurance scheme from the government. So maybe the awareness of the government scheme, the escalation matrix, the recourse mechanism that the beneficiaries have is something that probably needs to be looked into.
Thank you. Sudha Chandrasekhar, would you like to discuss how you envisage your scheme reaching out to the intended target beneficiaries and how you can rope in microfinance institutions in reaching the target?
Thank you. Before I answer that question, I would like to ask a question to the audience. How many among the audience are aware or know about what is Ayushman Bharat and what are the benefits and for whom? Not just knowing the name, but can we have a show of hands, please? Who really know? Boldly, yeah, it's okay. If you don't know also, it's okay. The main reason when I accepted this invitation was to make sure that because I've found a connect, that you have a very strong connect on the ground, and what we are grappling, as the other panelists are saying, is that reach to that last individual, wherein you might have a connect which we are not able to yet reach. That was the main reason that I felt I should be here. And when we can see that an audience who is educated, who is all social media friendly, has all the required knowledge at their tips, are still not aware, I can imagine what would be the kind of awareness at those beneficiaries whom we are supposed to serve, right? That's where the problem is. For the past 4 years, we do know that, the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has two parts. One is the health and wellness center part, which is the mainly for the OP care, outpatient care, for providing medicines, diagnostics, which is mainly being delivered by the public health institutions, the health and wellness centers, and at all levels of, up to the district hospital. So that is where you get your OP care. And secondly, to update the gaps in the public health systems. We do not have the care for all. If you go to a district hospital, you can only get a certain level of care, especially higher complex secondary care, and tertiary care is absent in many district hospitals, or to a very limited extent. So that is where Ayushman Bharat PMJY has tried to come in and fill that gap, wherein inpatient services for a defined beneficiaries are provided through purchasing that care from private hospitals. So wherever it is available through the public hospital, yes, we deliver, but it is again through the private hospital we provide. So we have around 10.4 crore identified beneficiary families. which are actually identified through the socio-economic and caste census, which was done 2011. So that is another issue, because it is a little outdated database. Yes, those people may have actually moved the ladder to better, economic status, or there may be new people who are added who do not have the, means to have any health care. So they are not currently in that database. So that is one of the things that many states have addressed that by universalizing health care. So that is one. So though we say 10.4 crore beneficiaries, 500 million individuals, currently if you look at our thing, around 65 million people are eligible, because the states have expanded and come said, I am not going to look at any economic status, but I am going to deliver this free care and this purchased care to all the people in the population. So there is no identification, but it gets, the benefit should be going to all these people. But the main aspect is, one, the awareness, which beneficiaries we want to make sure that is something. And secondly, engaging the providers. These are two things, because when you look at, if you go walk into hospitals, not all hospitals are part of this network. So again, when a beneficiary knows that, I can, even they are aware of the benefits, but they don't have any nearby, there is no other empaneled hospital, and the only hospital that is available is a public who don't have that specialty or that services, again the gap exists there, then they have to move into the out of pocket. So these are two key issues which I think we are grappling on. How do we reach to the beneficiaries? So right now, at least if you say, it was an entitlement based scheme, there was no enrollment, like how our earlier RSBY scheme was, wherein every beneficiary was identified, they were given a card and they were given. So this was mainly an entitlement based scheme without any enrollment. So we identified that that could be one of the issues, and we are again looking at identifying those beneficiaries, giving them a card, giving them the kind of, the connect and ownership that they have in terms of getting. So out of the 50 crore beneficiaries, right now we are around 20 crore beneficiaries who have received a card at least. So the family knows that, yes, I am a beneficiary. So that again is a very empowering thing. So my request, the main reason which I feel what you all can do is the people whom you work with, the most self-help groups, the kind of, the lower strata of people or who are taking loans from you, they are under financial stress. Imagine an additional stress of a catastrophic health expenditure. One, they would go further down, but they will also have a lot of other issues socially and economically. So in that sense, the best thing that a microfinance institution can do and should do is to identify among your beneficiaries who are already a part of the government health systems. That is very important, so that they can access those services and you can be the facilitator. As Sir was saying, facilitation is very important, because as a beneficiary, I find that, how can I walk to Medanta or Max, right? So how will I get that, even though I know that I can take care there. So that facilitation is very important. So we have Arogya Mitras in every hospital. So that is the contact number I feel you should all have. It is available on our website, but you can actually in your area look at the hospital that are empaneled. Where are the services available in your local hospital, and then provide that connect to your beneficiaries and say you can access these services. And call center is one area, so a free toll-free 14555, simple 5-digit number, maybe that is again an empowering thing for the beneficiary. I can call and ask all these things. So I'll stop here and I'll answer the rest.
Ranjan, to give a loan, you must also expect the loan to be repaid, right? If the recipient of the loan, the borrower, he falls ill or he dies, then your loan is also at risk. So there is a congruence of interest in ensuring the health of that person, right? But how often do you promote or find it feasible to persuade a borrower to also take health insurance? And you could also use this occasion to tell us how the adult scheme is working in your bank.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. These are tough questions because these are not easily answered on the ground. You have to understand that we are dealing with people whose household incomes are really very low, and it's if you have schemes which require them to pay health insurance premiums or any other form of insurance premiums, the schemes have to be flexible enough to take into account their cash flow situation. So that said, you're dealing with people at the lower end of the pyramid who do not have surplus cash. That's one problem. Second problem is, Madam referred to the distribution network we have. We do have a distribution network, thousands and thousands of people who reach out and they're making these loans. But they have been sort of boxed into this, you make a loan, you recover the loan, you get an incentive, blah, blah, blah. And their ability to cross-sell anything else is a bit limited. This is my experience. He was giving a very refreshing thought that he's able to do more with his field staff. The problem is, you can have hundreds of branches, but you'll have to keep a specialized team to sell health insurance or to sell any other product. My own view is, yes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Arun, we have to do something on the health insurance front, and we must have schemes which appreciate the cash flow positions of our customers. So maybe premiums spread out over 12 months, flexible premiums. When they have money, they pay. When they don't have money, they don't pay. Those kind of things. But more importantly, my own experience is in rural India, if you're trying to sell anything other than a loan product, the only thing which will go down well is a gold savings product. This is what our women customers understand, and they don't need to be explained, which is also a form of social security. That you save whatever little you can put away into a pot. At the end of 2 years, you have access to a few grams of gold. I think that product has succeeded in our country, although it's still small as we speak. But I feel that there is a bigger future for selling gold-linked deposit products. I'll make one more point. We are a very young small finance bank. We're just 1 year old. But there are 10 others who started 6-7 years ago, and prior to that there were large microfinance institutions. One of the things they found, and I'm speaking for some of the SFBs, if they might pardon me for saying this, they found that the places where they made their loans is not where they got their deposits. And they could not use the same infrastructure to get deposits, which is what they needed desperately. And they had to go somewhere else or do something else to get deposits. So it tells you that this is not an easy challenge, and therefore you must have products which can work. I think health insurance is one of them, and savings related to gold would be the second one. We all sell a credit-linked, it's mandatory with the loan. There's a credit shield product, that is, everybody sells it. That is if you pass away, the loan is repaid by the insurance company. So that is done. But that's not enough insurance. So I think there is a long way for us to climb.
How would the Atal pension distribution?
See, distribution of government schemes, whether it is pension funds, NPS, or any other, the guy who runs our microfinance business, I don't know where he is, Praveen Saha. Praveen Saha tells me there were 200 plus government schemes. I can't name more than 10. But there are 200 plus government schemes which need distribution, which needs somebody to come forward and distribute it. So it's not as if it can't be done. We will try. But as your first statement you made, at the end of the day, we are a credit business. We have to make a loan and ensure that we get collected. Otherwise, we are not in business. Then to protect that credit process, we do have to do something to ensure social security for our borrowers. And health insurance and some form of savings product, whether it is into pensions, which I think is a hard sell. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I think that's a harder sell. Selling it into a gold product is easier and more easily understood by our female borrowers.
Yeah. I mean, this is up to the PFRDA to think whether you can create a saving products in terms of gold, because Indians traditionally have been accustomed to saving, investing in gold, and seeing that as social security. No, there are gold bond schemes run by the government. So if people do invest in gold, there is possibly a way to financialize this saving and utilize that for long-term pensions. That is something that perhaps you people can think of. Now let me, as I said earlier, if governance functioned properly and people had access to Ayushman Bharat, you would not particularly need to have private health insurance for the poor. However, the health insurance only buys healthcare from providers, and we have a desperate shortage of quality providers. Now, this is something that the microfinance industry can work on. Now, there is a hospital chain called Global. It was founded by somebody who quit the IAS in Bihar, Sabahat Azim, and he set up this low-cost healthcare provision model. He has set up multiple hospitals around the country, Bihar, West Bengal, even Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. And they give quality care at a very low cost, because he has standardized procedures, standardized hospital sizes. They make use of telemedicine. Now, such kind of units which can provide quality care will lower the cost of health insurance. Even when the government buys this care from them, it will be greatly benefit. It struck me that we fail to take into account major developments in the world. Climate change is creating havoc across the world, including our country. Flash floods, forest fires, prolonged drought, unseasonal rain that damages crops. And this is only going to accelerate. And people's lives are going to be affected. Can we protect our people from these through risk transfer mechanisms like insurance? And can the microfinance agencies, institutions, play a role in enrolling the mass of people in paying a small amount of premium for the insurance? Of course, you need the government to really give a large volume to the insurance and to reinsure it, probably through catastrophe bonds which abate if the unforeseen calamity does strike. But these are at a higher level. But at a lower level, you will need to actually create awareness of the possibility of transferring risk. How much time do you have?
No, actually, more than time, I need to take your permission to make a very important announcement,
Sure.
if I may do so. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for coming here in between. We have a lady called Miss Surekha from Chaitanya, and there seems to have been an accidental exchange of the kit bags, the white color kit bags that all of you are carrying. And one of those kit bags, in fact, has her wallet with her Aadhaar and all of her identity cards. The lady on to my left in front of the gate, Ms. Surekha from Chaitanya, if you happen to see a wallet in your bag which has been accidentally exchanged, please, it would be really nice, and we'd appreciate if you could get in touch with her and give the wallet to her. It's found? Okay, thank you. Thanks a ton. Back to you.
And how much time do we have?
You have half an hour. That's okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, we are a fast-growing economy. We are a very vibrant tech sector, venture capital industry. Now, is the PFRDA too conservative in the asset classes in which it allows this corpus to be invested? Are we actually failing to optimize the returns we can get on the investable savings that we at your disposal by eschewing some of these high return possibilities? Because you are large enough, you can minimize the risk by diversifying across sectors. Do you think this is something we could think of?
So I would like to answer your question. First thing, what Ranjan sir and you had rightly said, that insurance and pension, I believe these are the two most hard-selling products. As you said that you waited for the gold pensions or gold products. Indian mentality is like that either we want to save that money in the pot, we want to keep it in the bank, or we simply want to buy gold out of it, right? So the thing is that the pension make people aware and to make them think about the 20 years, 30 years past down the line, that you will be needing a regular source of income at that point of time. It is very, very difficult, right? So for that purpose, this is the answer to what you had said, that we could think about the gold-related products or so. Secondly, as you were talking about that to maximize returns point of view, I would like to convey this in the forum that all the pension schemes, since inception till date, have generated nearly 10% of the return, which is quite a good amount, even being conservative, that mostly are schemes, especially the tier 1 that we have, that is where the government customers' money go. Only 15% exposure is given to the equity. So after that, also generating 10% return, nearly 7 years, 10 years down the line, I think it is a very good return. And secondly, sir, as you have said about it, so you would be aware that PFRDA has opened up this asset allocation choice to the subscribers, including the government subscribers also, so that if they want to take more risk, they can opt for it. They can go up to 50-60%, they can for equity, remaining into the government bonds or corporate bonds. So we are opening up to that, but simultaneous to it, the people who do not want to take risk, for that we have the asset allocation that has been earlier also decided by PFRDA, where it is like 15% equity and then nearly 50% go to the government securities, remaining into the corporate bonds. So as per the choice, as per the risk appetite of the subscriber, he can opt for the risk that he wants to take. That options are available with the subscriber.
Let me put this question to you. A small saver, even somebody from the middle class, does not have savings that are large enough to be deployed across many sectors to minimize risk and maximize returns. These savings are to be part of a larger pool in order to achieve the scale where you can invest in high risk but high reward sectors and still protect your overall returns by investing more in safer instruments. Is it conceivable that microfinance institutions can actually enter into asset management or pass it on to asset managers by mopping up savings from small savers and agglomerating them so that they can be deployed as a very large part of a very large corpus in order to achieve returns not possible to get by deploying small amounts?
By regulation, we are non-deposit taking. We can't do savings banks account. On the PF front, I think for the benefits to accrue, it's a long-term scheme. Our association with the borrowers typically is about 2 years to 4 years. Loan tenure is 2 years. That is one of the limiting factors why we do not do pension schemes, right? Like the gentleman there said, gold saving scheme, of course, it is just formalizing the informal behavior, because every customer or every other customer would have a scheme with a local jeweler, and a gold savings based scheme backed by a technology is just formalizing that behavior. And of course it has a future, but nothing could beat an insurance, because even if someone saves say 25,000 rupees through a gold and there happens to be a medical emergency, the entire 25,000 is wiped out, whether in cash or gold. While in insurance, it's a disproportionate benefit. You pay a premium of 1,000 rupees, potentially get a benefit of 50,000 rupees. Right?
I will add a statement. All of us have some kind of domestic help. Would you be able to negotiate and say, look, I'll take 10% of your salary and put it into some kind of a pension, PFRDA, whatever, and I'll give you the rest in cash? It would be a tough gig. I mean, we are all sitting here and we are in urban India and we are not going to be able to do that. So you can imagine that how tough that procedure is. That is to get somebody to save into a long-term pension plan. But I'm repeating myself, but a health insurance is very much something we are up for. I think that may be very possible.
To respond to that, actually, my maid has a pension plan, which is funded through this. She has a health insurance scheme. Now, this is, addition to what she gets. She doesn't really see it as being, things taken away. I'm paying from pocket. But when it comes to a loan distribution agency instituting some forms of insurance, it is like part of the cost of the loan. You may transparently administer it. The alternative in India, from when a borrower in a village takes a loan from a moneylender and when the borrower takes the money from a small finance bank, the difference in interest rates is so huge. If some money is set aside to cover that person for his own long-term benefit in health insurance or life insurance or in property insurance, that would not be such a big problem, would it? Now, let me ask you a question. The government chose to go through insurance to universalize healthcare. Now, I'm sure you are familiar with the accountable care model, the Kaiser healthcare model in the US, where you take money from the insured group upfront as a per capita premium, and you proactively keep that person healthy. Because then you take care of that person's healthcare from a preventive point of view. You bear the entire cost of the healthcare expenditure that requires. What I'm saying is here the healthcare provider has no incentive to carry out unnecessary investigations or to carry out unnecessary procedures or prescribe medication that's not required, because that will only eat into his own profitability from financing that healthcare, which he is covering by taking premium. So this model is something that perhaps the government could try out. Instead of just buying health insurance from private healthcare providers, and if it is possible to mobilize people's savings to create these kind of healthcare providers who can actually provide quality, low cost, but standard healthcare, that would be so great, wouldn't it?
So just want to clarify that government here, though we use the word insurance in the Ayushman Bharat scheme, it is insurance bar assurance. So in 17 states and above, there is no insurance provider, there is no mediator. So the government is directly purchasing the services from the private sector. There is no premium paid, right? So only in some of the smaller northeastern states and states who do not have the capacity to implement this kind of a program, they have taken up the insurance with a proper defined premium wherein they have discovered a premium to their state. So this is a kind of model, I can say, intermediate between insurance and ACOs. So we are in that stage of transition wherein we have states who are doing even hybrid mode. The initial 50,000 rupees expenses is through insurance, through a small premium, whereas the higher level care through a defined institutions is through trust model. So that is the difference, that we are now in a stage, not completely ACOs, but not completely insurance. So in that way, we are trying to look at, ensuring the preventive care through the public health system. And again, we are also making best use of the public health systems also. So a referral channel, a gatekeeping, what you say, for unnecessary tests and diagnostics. So there's a gatekeeping mechanism that if you need care from a private health care, in many states they are trying that out, so that if you need any advanced care, there is a kind of a channel that you are reviewed, your investigations are done in a public sector, then you really need advanced care, then you're referred and you can actually go and take care. So we are in a transition phase, and definitely that is something, as the capacity of the states to implement this kind of a mass health program, because there was no major mass health program. RSBY was a fully insurance, the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, which is the kind of a precursor scheme across the pan-India, which that might be something everyone may know. That was completely insurance-based, wherein once the premium was taken, many insurance companies were hard to contact, because then they were neither paying for the providers nor looking at the issues of the beneficiary whom they had insured. So in that sense, that is definitely one area where we have to build the capacity of states and the teams to implement these as we move towards the universal health coverage. So it is important that, you said in the beginning only that government should provide. Yes, government should provide, but you cannot start big when you're moving towards universal health coverage. I cannot announce midnight saying that the whole country, everybody's health is my responsibility. We don't have a supply and the kind of demand that it will generate, we will not be able to meet it. It is a gradual process. We have started with the poor. Non-poor is something that definitely is lingering in the mind of the government on how do we cover them. We have to some extent the government employees and the other people who are already ESI, which is again through the informal sector, some of them are covered, but there is always this, definitely the missing middle and the missing link there, where they are neither poor enough to be covered under our scheme, nor rich enough to buy their own insurance. That is a strategy that has to be, maybe that is the gap that microfinance institutions can actually fill in, saying that why can't you, get in some products which are like Ayushman Bharat, which are like lower kind of a premium, not the kind of private insurance. Private insurance is quite expensive. For a cover of 2.5 lakhs, you will have to pay a premium of more than 10,000, 12,000. So can we look at something in affordable premiums, affordable healthcare, and identify that, the basic guidelines and technology could be Ayushman Bharat, right? You now have a system. You can look at the IT platforms, you can look at the guidelines for packages, guidelines for the rates, everything can be looked at, you have a reference point, but come out with a product which your beneficiary can afford. A missing people can afford. We were also thinking of, initiating such things wherein we can identify, and that is when again we had come in contact with Sa-Dhan also as one of the group who could, pilot this initiative for us. Right? Actually look at, discover a premium rate, maybe 3,000, 4,000, what could be done and what are the basic covers that can be provided. So that is the link that we need to build in. We are now at least taken care, at least the poor, very poor and the people who can afford will be taken care by themselves. But let's work out this group, how do we handle them? There's a recent report from the Niti Aayog also, which NHA was also part of it. So in terms of looking at approaches to cover this missing middle, please go through, look at, think about it, see what could you innovate, in terms of as a finance institutions, can you innovate something and innovate a product, can you bring in to the table for the government? Maybe government can subsidize such premiums. That is where we can look at, wherein right now we are, both state and center are subsidizing the cost. We can look at where the beneficiary and the government can also subsidize. We have looked at it in Karnataka as an APL thing, wherein 30% of the cost of the healthcare at the point of service is paid by the beneficiary, 70% is paid by the government. What we asked the insurance companies at that time is, why can't you bring a product so that you can have a top-up, that 30% which the beneficiary is paying out of pocket Can you not bring a product which can be a top-up so that he can get cashless at the point of service, so that he will not have any catastrophic expenses?
Thank you. Can PFRDA actually offer a slightly bigger incentive for microfinance organizations to find it worthwhile, or small finance banks to find it worthwhile to distribute the pension? They're saying there are 200 government schemes, and if you are simply expected to distribute them because it's a government scheme, it may not actually work. What financial incentive can be built into a scheme to ensure that it actually goes down to the people?
Sir, if I talk about PFRDA, then PFRDA is regulating one scheme, that is National Pension System, and we are administering the other scheme, that is the government scheme, Atal Pension Yojana. So the distribution channels that are rewarded for Atal Pension Yojana, it is directly through government, and PFRDA just pass it on to them. And for National Pension System, the POPs, we call them, all the banks and the aggregators, we call them points of presence. So there is a fixed structure, fixed charge structure that is being actually paid by the customers only. And as you're talking about the microfinance institutions, so at this forum, I can just say that we can think about it. If we get a good proposal, then we may have a review of that. But as of now, that is it. That currently for the NPS and APY, what is going on, that we have to continue. Yeah.
We generally have to wind up. I think the insurance that microfinance should really take up is general insurance of property, of the damage their lives will suffer as a result of climate change. And this is a very large issue which is right now being discussed in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, on loss and damage finance that the developed countries will give to people like us. It is not forthcoming. This is something we ultimately have to finance ourselves. It has to be financed across society, all segments, and in which, if the government organizes these things properly, the microfinance institutions will find an opportunity and responsibility to help organize our small savers to be part of this insurance scheme. Second, when the government purchases insurance from or services directly from a healthcare provider, that healthcare provider has no incentive to minimize the cost. Government is buying. But if the healthcare provider is, is part of minimizing the cost of the healthcare by being financially incentivized to keep this person healthy, then that would be a superior system. So in building healthcare providers who also offer sort of insurance, you will be actually creating incentives that avoid waste and keep people proactively healthy. And this is again something we need to think of. Now, I will ask the last word to Mr. Ranjan. If you have to be incentivized to sell Atal Pension Yojana, how much of a commission would you need to receive?
I really don't know this answer, but there are enough mutual funds being sold, and health insurance schemes are being sold, so somewhere along those lines. So there will be a framework. But I want to make a slightly different point. We spent a lot of time on insurance. Microfinance institutions and small finance banks are primarily, their DNA is lending. Small ticket loans to poorer families. This is our DNA. Yes, we're trying to sell savings products to them. I think the big issue the industry is facing, and I'm sure all the participants will agree with me, that COVID resulted in very large hit on everybody's balance sheet. Now, what the microfinance institutions need for us is we need to lend more, and not just to the woman, but to her husband, to her son or daughter or whatever it is. You can expand credit, but we do need some form of credit protection from the government for doing certain activities. I mean, MSME loans get this protection from Mudra. And there are other government schemes which help institutions. So we also need to find a way to share risk. The reason it's been denied to us for so far is people have said, look, you guys lend at 21, 24%. You already have enough cushion in your business, so you can take those hits which come once in 2 years. But clearly, the current situation is saying that we all have significant risk costs. So coming back to the point, we were originally set up to lend. That is our DNA. By lending more, I mean, to the family maybe, I mean, that is the best way to secure social security. If the woman falls ill, other members of the family are able to be productive, they have an income, they can see her through. But this is our DNA. Selling health insurance and savings products is something we'll try. That is my sort of 2 bits to this.
Thank you. I think with that we will draw the session to a close. Even middle class members actually save by borrowing and repaying that borrowing. My biggest saving has been my house. How did I finance that? By borrowing money. Then I repaid that loan, but I used that money to buy an asset. Right? So the distinction between borrowing and deposit taking is not all that clear cut as it is. Saving and borrowing. Thank you. I mean, these things can be discussed at length. Thank you all for creating this interesting discussion. Thank you.
Actually, in the interest of time, we'll have to close it because we have to vacate the hall before 5 o'clock. We have other engagements. Maybe you could catch up offline with our panelists. We sincerely apologize. In the interest of time, we'll have to do so. Let's all have a round of applause. Okay, I think we'll allow 2 questions.
Good evening, dignitaries on the dais and my friends. Since it is inevitable, I just take your 2 minutes. During the panel discussions, we noticed that there is a wrong perceptions, maybe from the promoter's end or operator's end, that SSS, Social Security Scheme, is none of our business, particularly for MFIs. I will give SK-DADP example. You know SK-DADP? Number 1 in the countries under client based as per Sa-Dhan report. We have 51 lakhs members, our clients. We have covered 42 lakhs Ayushman Medha. We enrolled 42 lakhs Ayushmans. We are aggregator for PFRDA. We have enrolled multi-lakhs of NPS, multi-lakhs of APY, multi-lakhs of Mandhan Yojana, and any scheme you take, through our 10,000 CSC centers, we are doing these things. But we are absolutely a charitable trust. As per our revered president, Dr. Virendra Hegdeji's core intentions to serve the people, we are doing that things. But for my MFIs, I am telling, DNA is business, of course, I believe, and I accept it. But SSS, Social Security Scheme, will become your skin. If not DNA, it will become your skin. Because there are 3 dimensions. 1, it protects your business. You have numbers. What is your NPA? Gross or net? You know what is the number, but you don't know why. You just look into your client basis. They all are day-to-day earners or unorganized sector people. For them only this Social Security Scheme is there. If you really do some research, why this NPA, only because of ill health, he is not having money to treat, or he will borrow with another microfinance for getting treatment, both will become NPA. Yeah, this is the one case. And the second case,
I think we have to draw to a close.
Yeah. 2 things. This protect your business. Second, it enhance your business. Definitely it enhance your business. Third one is, it build your brand image. If you do some campaigns of Ayushman or NPS, whatever these things, without investing 1 rupee also, you can build your image, brand image, and all CSR activities you can classify under these things without spending 1 rupees. Please, I request all MFIs, please cover as much as possible social security schemes to your clients. This definitely become your skin. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we've come to a close of this plenary session on social security. We'd like to thank each one of you here for sharing with us your expertise. Once again, I'm going to request Mr. T.K. Arun to give away the mementos to Dr. Chandrasekhar, Mr. Varadkar, Mr. Ghosh, and Ms. Gupta for sharing with us those valuable insights. Can I have our team to bring in the mementos as quickly as possible, please? In the interest of time, we have to hurry up here, requesting my team to please bring in the mementos quickly. Requesting Mr. T.K. Arun to please present these mementos to each one of our speakers here. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's all have a round of applause for all of them. Thank you. And I'll request Mr. Sudha Said to please present a memento on behalf of all of us here at Sa-Dhan to Mr. T.K. Arun. Okay, I think he stepped out. Mr. Gigi Mammon, may I request you to do it? We'd like to thank Mr. T.K. Arun for a wonderful moderation there. Thank you once again for that excellent time management and a wonderful moderation. Thank you, everyone. With that, we close this session, and we'll meet you tomorrow once again at 10 a.m. for our program. We'll resume at 10 a.m. And before we close, we have one of the award recipients who'd like to say something. We can have her here. Yeah.
Very good evening. Just a few words of thanks to Sa-Dhan and water.org for the huge support that they have been giving to all the MFI financiers in respect of wash financing, which we understand is a very, very crucial sector, though not recognized yet, because when it comes to MFIs, income generation takes center stage, but it is very critical to the women's health, to the wellness, long-term wellness and long-term impact on income generation and economic empowerment of the women. So this is to recognize the efforts, the support we have been receiving from water.org and Sa-Dhan. Thank you so much.